Just start with introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Rain. I'm an alcoholic addict.
So we just recently met, but the little that we've learned about you or that you've shared so far is that you kind of grew up in a home of recovery. Can you just share a little bit on that experience or what that was like growing up?
Yeah, so my father got sober, I think it's like 26 years ago. And my mom was sober for like a 10-year period. But so that had me growing up in the rooms, going to celebration meetings. I was like 6, 7 years old. But yeah, I always had that constant presence of AA in my life. And kind of also just like my dad with this big book, shoving it down my throat, telling me, if you stay sober through college, you'll get a car. And I never got that car. It was an AC Cobra. And I really, really would have liked that. But yeah, I like to say I had to do my own research.
Yeah. Do you think as a child growing up, you were able to like conceive what alcoholism was? Or do you remember a time in your life when it kind of like clicked for you?
So because my dad was never active in my years past 5, and my mom really didn't have an apparent problem, I didn't quite, I don't think quite grasp it. But, I had a, stepmother who passed away when I was 12, and it was kind of always rumored it was overdose, and that was never really explained until I was a little bit older and I was going through it. So I didn't really see it, and I didn't quite understand it. I didn't understand how to drink, right? And so like when I first started drinking, I was 16 and I was drinking out of the handle, and I thought that was normal. I think given the time period, Project X was coming out, all these glorifications around drinking. And so I never quite understood it. I never saw normal people drink. So yeah, I kind of, after I obliterated myself, I was 16 and a half, and by 17 I was in AA for myself. But that was a comfortable room because I'd been going there my whole life.
Yeah. Was that kind of the catalyst or the start of like forging your own path of sobriety?
Definitely. For me, AA was very important in my start of sobriety. I don't go to AA now. I haven't been to AA in, my 3 years of this recovery. But in the first bits, I have half measures have availed us nothing poorly tattooed on my chest. And, as part of the preamble. And I took this like very seriously because I got sober at 17, and then I relapsed after a year of sobriety. And it was on Molly, which I thought was like a good idea. I was like, oh, I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to do Molly for the first time, and ate like a whole gram of it and ended up in a coma for 4 or 5 days. And that was my first relapse. And then I think the social worker, my mom tells me the social worker convinced me that I should experiment and I should drink. And so I did. And my poor mom sitting by my side for 4 days straight in the ICU. This time around, definitely it's been therapy. It's been reading books like Nonviolent Communication that have helped me in my sobriety, because for me this time, getting off of drugs and alcohol, while it's been a slow process and I've cut things out along the way, it's been the easy part for me this time. And really what I distinguish between sobriety and being dry is growing your character.
Mm-hmm. What other pillars of support do you feel like have been in your recovery this time around?
Well, I think being that I'm an electronic music DJ, I faced a lot of trepidation when it came to how am I going to show up in this space and in this scene and be sober? Is this even viable?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wore it on my sleeve, and I would allow people to meet me where I'm at. And I found a lot of people are like so receptive, and I never really faced any pressure. So I think just in general, I found the support of my peers hugely in, wearing pride in where I'm at. My family is always instrumental. My mother is, my cornerstone, but and I obviously have my partner who's also sober and on her phone smiling.
Did you have any resistance to therapy before this time around?
I think so. It was kind of, I guess, not like stigmatized, but I just had a bad taste growing up with a therapist. I had a therapist since I was like 5. But that was more centered around my family dynamic. And I just had a weird experience with that. I think the therapy that I received in rehab was, I don't know, just something completely different. And I experienced so many different models of therapy, group setting, learning about more extensively about CBT and DBT, doing EMDR and personal sessions with my family. And then the individual therapy was just different. She listened, gave me literature. I read a lot, came back, and I feel like I'd been seen, but she would yell at me for phrasing it like that because that's not a feeling. But yeah.
What would be another word then?
Another way of saying that.
Yeah.
It seems as though I was understood. Yeah. And that made me feel good. Made me feel happy.
Have you faced any challenges as far as being in the music scene and being sober? I know you said that most people are pretty receptive or it doesn't really bother them, obviously, but have you had your own kind of personal challenges with it?
People forget because they're drunk or they're high. And so they'll just be like, you want this? And that's never really been challenging for me because I met the sobriety as a decision and not like we'll see if this works. It was like, this is the way it is for me. And so, yeah, people forget, they offer you stuff and you're like, no, it's me that you're talking to. Like, don't you remember? And they don't, but that's fine. You can remind them and let them know. I've not really felt any, I'm like freed of that obsessive desire, that craving to use again. So
as far as music goes, do you want to share what it is that you create and maybe where it started?
Well, I make all sorts of stuff. And I'm in a bit of a transitional period, and where I started was with guitar growing up, playing in bands and pop rock bands. And
what was the name of your first band?
Oh, we're gonna leave that one out. It's a secret. But yeah, I didn't know if it would be my career, but I eventually, through the college limbo that I did, jumping around, I met my buddy who is living with me now, and I dropped out. We did it at the same time. We were like, screw this shit. We're gonna be rappers. I'm not a rapper, obviously, but it did lead me to the next step, which was going to LA, learning how to audio engineer and then learning music production at Icon Collective, which is no longer a thing, which is kind of crazy, but that's a sidebar. But then I came over to Colorado on a residency in Vail, Colorado, and that's where I like fell into a hole, and now I'm out of rehab and here 3 years of sobriety later, and yeah, so I make house music and electronic music, this electronica sound I'm kind of like trying to figure out, but I'm also making metal and making, you know, jazzy hip hop, I don't know, kind of wherever I'm at. But yeah, I put out the house music under Shady Jones, and the rest I will figure out in time. You know, after getting sober, I was like, well, this music is still important to me. I'm going to see if I can, you know, continue to navigate the club scene, I guess. And I'll bring my sobriety into the conversation, which is why I will continue to put out music under this project, because it could still help people, you know, when they come to find my music and they're like, I like this guy. And then they're like, oh, there's something here maybe that I'm also struggling with. And maybe it's not, they need to go full sober, but, you know, my whole thing has always been like, I need to relook at my relationship with these substances and see if it's harmful or if like this is the best that I could be.
So having those conversations, and I think so much of the project, at least Brian's intention, especially with these interviews, have been just about bringing the awareness piece to our relationships with substances. And I love that you mentioned that you could have these experiences with music without substances.
Absolutely. Yeah, a big system surrounded by people you love, you know, in a beautiful place can really do the job.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you need.
How do you want to acknowledge yourself? It's kind of like a question I've been asking people recently, something that maybe we don't always do, kind of reflect on ourselves and just really acknowledge, you know, where we were then, who we are now. So is there anything that sticks out to you, even if it's something recent you want to acknowledge yourself for?
I think that's funny because I was sitting in the car. I don't remember what we were doing, but I think, I don't know, I just had a moment with myself in my head where I was like, wow, you know, you're a good man. Like, you've come a long way. Because I really wasn't doing all that hot. And it's not that I'm not a good person internally. It was that I was so consumed by my addiction that I didn't like know how to show up in my life. And that was hugely the reason why I checked myself into rehab, is I hit this point of shame with myself where I was like, this is not the man that I know myself to be. I knew myself as a kid. I knew where I was headed. I knew like how adults spoke about me. You know, my peers, you know, spoke about me. And this is not in alignment with who that is. And I hit this point, I was 26, and I was like, this is just, you know, I'd spent my last $50. I was, you know, dead broke, and I just, you know, needed to call out for help. And I did, and got the help I needed. And now, after all the therapy and like stitching up all the loose ends, I can have these moments where, you know, I'm just sitting in my car after I've dealt with a situation of some sort, and just be like, I'm a good man now. And it's like, that was always there.
Right.
All you had to do is just like take care of yourself, get help if you need it, you know. And I did. So I did, and here we are, you know.
Is there a specific song, whether it's from an original member of the 27 Club, or is there a song that just really resonates for you of your sobriety journey?
What are you saying?
The Doors.
Oh, yeah. Hard to pick a favorite. The End.
The End. This is the end.
Yeah.
My
Only
we'll
Friend, The End.
It's a great desert song.
Great desert song. Yeah.
Oh, and look at her.
Yeah, I know she was
Yeah,
there
I'm
like
so
the
happy.
whole time.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my own